I'm Maggie. Wednesday instead of on Tuesday. Welcome to everybody who's joining me. Unboxing of Premier yarns. So I was shopping around and Premier had a brand new yarn that they released that looked really interesting to me. I got a bunch of that, and then there was a whole bunch of other things on sale, and so I've got those to unbox and show you. And then I also got my Leither box in the mail yesterday, I think, and I have not opened it up yet. So I'm going to open that up on stream, and hopefully you guys will like that as well. Sorry about the delay. We were trying to fix some stuff. I moved everything off of like the carpet in the basement and vacuumed and cleaned and did not put everything back where it goes. And so we were having some lighting difficulties and things like that. So thanks for bearing with me, and sorry we started a little bit late, but hopefully it'll be a good stream anyway, and you guys will enjoy it just the same. Welcome to Runaway Needle Red and New Day Crochet. Thanks for joining and sticking around while we were getting started, and same to everyone else who's out there but hasn't yet commented. All right. I'm going to start with the Leither box and just give people a few minutes to get on the live stream and get, you know what I mean, get their emails from YouTube in case they forgot about the stream, and then we'll open up the Premiere. All right, so this, like I've said in the past, this is a subscription service that does crochet boxes, and I just get these. I pay for them. It's not a sponsored thing or anything like that. I just enjoy unboxing them with you guys. I think it's fun to just get something that I didn't pick out in the mail. It's fun to just kind of be surprised every month. So I'm going to open this up here. Ooh. All right. So the yarn for this month is Blooming Flowers, and it is a really pretty, really pretty purple and green. And the green has little speckles of orange in it, just with kind of some variation in color in here, and it looks like some of the purple has a little bit of maybe like a magenta-y pink in here as well. So very pretty yarn this month. Obviously a big fan of purple. So there's the yarn for the month. And then every month there's also a hook in the box, and it looks like this month is a D hook. So there's the hook. The hooks are clover metal hooks set in a hand-turned wooden handle. I get the natural handles, which are usually brown wood, which is bright colors and kind of like two-tone colors. So there's a second option for hooks here, but this is the hook for the month. It's really nice to have the clover hooks set in the wood handles. Okay. It looks like maybe we're having some technical difficulties. I'm not positive if you can hear me, but give me 1 second. We okay?
It keeps just, the audio stops for like a second.
Okay.
I don't know if they're hearing it.
So if we might be having audio issues. If you guys are hearing weirdness in the audio and you can let us know, that would be super helpful. It might be glitching. It's unclear whether it's on our end or whether it's being broadcast through YouTube. So just let us know if the audio is misbehaving. That's true of any week. If there are any technical problems, it's making weird noises or there's something wrong, please let us know. So, we can usually fix it on the fly, but we can't fix it if we don't know it's happening. So it looks like most people are saying that it's okay. So we'll see if anything goes wrong. All right. The next thing in the package is a stitch marker. So there's always some sort of little surprise or little add-on. They're typically stitch markers with whatever the theme is, but they've been other things. I've gotten a little pair of scissors, lots of different little things, but typically stitch markers. And so this one is a little kind of a Hawaiian looking little flower, but in a neutral color. There's that. A lot of people saying hi and letting us know about the audio. Thank you, and thank you for joining us. All right, and then the last thing is there's a little booklet that contains a pattern for the month. And so let's open up. I just want to double check that I don't reveal the pattern. All right, so you can see there's the options for the month. The box that I get, it contains wool yarn. They do have a cotton option as well. The cotton option this month was a speckled yarn, it looks like. And then there are all kinds of different options for boxes and things that you could get. But it looks like the two patterns that were included were a mug cozy and then what a lot of people call a mug rug or a coaster there. So those are the patterns included in the later pages here, and I'm not going to flip through and show those. Just for reference, the yarn this month is a DK weight yarn. It's 100% merino, and the hook is a D hook, which is a 3.25 millimeter hook. So, I think what she's doing right now is going through a 10 hook series. So if you buy the Clover hooks, you get 10 hooks from B through J, I think. And so you get all 10 hooks. And right now, if you were to subscribe for 10 months, you should get one of every hook. So I think I have 6 or 7 of the Clover hooks with the hand turn handle. So I have 3-ish more to go. And then once it turns over again, then I guess the hooks will be randomized again. But theoretically, every 10 months, you should get one of every hook. I don't know if that means that she'll always have to do them in the same order, or if there will be, a reset type of period. So if you start in October and you go around to August, if you would get all 10, or if, it'll always start in January and the last 2 of the month are some sort of wild card. I don't know enough about the subscription. Let's see. Joyce says, I love the yarn this month. I love their yarn, and this month is no exception. I get the yarn-only version. Don't care for the hooks. Yeah, the yarn so far has always been very, very pretty and things that I quite like. So I don't think I've gotten one that I was like, ooh, I'm going to give this away. I think that so far I've really liked everything I got. So we're good on audio again? Oh, okay. Okay, again, we might still be having audio issues, let us know, but I'm gonna start with the Premier yarns, and we'll see how it goes. Alright, the first yarn that I got is a Premier Anti-Pilling Everyday DK. I bought some of this the last time I bought from Premier, and I showed some of the colors to you guys on here, but I have noticed recently that I don't ever buy blanket quantities of yarn, and so I've been looking at making a couple of baby blankets, and so I bought enough to make a baby blanket this time. This is just the color cream. So I really like white or cream colored baby blankets. They're just it's what my grandma used to make. I have one that my grandma made. That's what I'm drawn to. I think that's what always looks the prettiest, though That's not to say that there aren't very pretty multicolor baby blankets. I've made a couple that I really, really like, but these tend to be my favorite. They, no matter what, single color white baby blankets always look good. At least in my opinion. So, this is Premier Anti-Pilling Everyday DK. It is a number 3 lightweight or DK weight yarn. They recommend a 4mm knitting needle or a 4mm crochet hook. 4mm is a G hook. They say this can be machine washed, tumble dry, and let's see, yardage is 100-gram balls will get you 273 yards or 250 meters. And this is 100% anti-pilling acrylic. Premier has a lot of this anti-pilling acrylic that they're touting pretty hard. They've got a lot of advertisements for their anti-pilling acrylic. It's my understanding that it's not that it doesn't pill, it's that it can shed the pills. And so it always looks new is the selling point here. So I actually have not I don't think I've made anything and machine washed and dried it from Premier. I don't tend to machine wash any of my handmade items, but for a baby blanket, I would expect that it will be machine washed. And so I try and buy easy care items. The last thing you need to give a new mother is an extra chore to do, and hand washing baby blankets is not an easy thing to ask for somebody to do. So, let's see. All right. So Premier has a number of yarns on their website that are not Premier branded. A lot of them are in the Universal yarn section. Universal is the brand. So this one is yarn called Good Earth. So it says Fibra Natura, Good Earth. And this is the cotton linen blend. And this yarn feels like a cotton linen blend. It's not scratchy, but coarse. I'm not really sure how to exactly describe it. It's really rugged feeling. Kind of in a good way, but like I wouldn't probably want a sweater out of this. But I think it's going to work up really pretty. So I might try and weave it. Not sure I've got enough here to do a whole lot with. Otherwise, I probably will make it into something with really nice stitch definition, but like maybe like placemats or something like that. I'm not sure. It's really nice feeling, but also not cozy at all. And that's a little bit just kind of the quality of linen, but it's got a rugged feeling to it. So there is no information on the packaging here, which is interesting. So all I can tell you is what color it is. Well, okay. So this is the color shade, it seems, which is 0009. This one is called Gone Fishing, which is 0011. This one is also Gone Fishing. And this one is Shoal, SHOAL, 0016. So that is what we got here. Let's see. It's a Glenda says that cream and white baby blankets are very pretty. I have always thought so, and I think a lot of people think so. So yeah, I agree with you. That's my favorite, and that's my go-to if I'm making it for somebody else. I definitely choose cream or white. And let's see. New Day Crochet says tempted to buy the cotton linen and thought. Sorry, I'm having a hard time reading that. It wouldn't be soft enough. My eyes. I think I'm just tired. That's helpful. Thank you. All right, made that a little bit bigger. Okay. New Day Crochet said that they were tempted to buy the cotton linen blend and thought it wouldn't be soft enough. It's not soft, or well, I just don't know if I know the right word for it. It's not scratchy. It's got a really nice sheen to it and like a nice feel in the hand, but it's not soft. Like there's no hair or anything on there that makes it feel like cozy. It's just I don't know. I'm having a hard time describing it, but it's definitely not soft. It's something that you probably would want to use for household products. I think it would probably make an amazing dish towel or like decorative towel. I think placemats are what I'm going to end up using it for. And like I said, I might weave them. The colors here I think will look pretty nice together for some summer table decorations. I could see making baskets out of it. I think it'll be nice to work with, but you probably could still make like a shawl or a wrap out of it too. It's not like it would be bad against some of your skin, but I don't think I'd want it, as a cowl. I don't think it's the right type of yarn for a fingerless glove or something like that. But yeah. Let's see. Glenda says it was tough feeling, but I thought once it would wash the cotton and linen mix, it would soften up. It probably would soften up quite a bit. And it might fluff up a little bit. That's part of the reason that it's not feeling very soft. I think it's got a really high twist. And when you have really, really hard twisted yarns, they don't have any squish to them. And that's part of what makes yarns feel soft. This yarn feels hard. Like, yeah, like very solid. And like I said, rugged, I think is the word I keep using. It feels tough. Like it would stand up to being made into a basket and, put outside or something crazy. Like it would hold up to a lot. So, I don't know. Linen is such a weird thing. A couple people are saying now that it'll soften up. Jane says that that she's heard that linen softens up, and I believe that's true. And cotton should soften up too. It's not scratchy. It's just that it's got such a linen feel. Like there isn't I don't have another good word for that texture, but there is something very different about it than other natural fibers. So it's a cool yarn. I think it's going to be fun to work with. I think it feels a lot more linen-y than the like Cotlin yarn that I got from Knit Picks. Yeah, and then there was the Reline. Was it Reline?
It's called Reline, but it's probably Relin since it has linen in it.
Yeah, the recent one that I got, that has a pretty linen-y feel, but it's definitely got some sort of finish on it that has like a softener. At least it felt like to me like it probably was softened just a little bit. This feels a bit more natural. I don't know. Did you get to feel this? I should toss it over to you if I can do it without hitting any camera equipment. You feel what I'm saying? Like it's hard to describe. All right. The next yarn I've got is another Universal yarn. I don't really know what the deal with Universal versus Premier is. I assume that Premier just owns the brand. I did also notice, for those of you who are familiar with the brand, the Stitch Studio by Nicole, which used to be a, what was the name of that store? The one on the Eastern Seaboard that closed down. I can't think of it off the top of my head now. I just had it. There was a whole chain of stores on the Eastern coast. Jace, AC Moore, yeah. AC Moore closed down or is in the process of closing. I'm not really sure on the status with all of the coronavirus stuff, like where they're at with that. But they had announced that they were shutting down, and a lot of people were worried about where some of their brands were going to go because they really liked certain yarns. And I have noticed that Premier has a whole bunch of Stitch Studio by Nicole on their website. The thing that I don't know is if they bought the stock from AC Moore, like whatever they had left in all their stores and in their warehouses, or if they're going to be like if they've bought the brand and they're going to continue to sell it. So I have no idea. I haven't seen any news about that, but I do know that some of it is available on Premier's website. I did not get any in this order. There wasn't anything jumping off the page at me that I wanted to pick up this time. But that doesn't mean that, you know, if there's a yarn that you know is good, that it's not. It wasn't something I picked today. Let's see. Rebecca's Crochet Nook's asking if the cotton linen would work for a beach bag. I think it would be a good use. A market bag or something like that would be, like, it feels like it would be very strong.
Is it big enough?
You might need a couple of them. I think these are 50 gram, if I was guessing here. They're though it's so dense, it could be 100 grams, I suppose. But they were really only a couple dollars, I think, which is why I got a couple of options here, and I didn't know how it was going to be either, but I wanted to give it a try. I think they were probably 4 for some amount because I ended up, like, it's weird that I chose 2 of one color and 1 of each of the others. So they were probably like 4 for 10 or something like that. So I think, yeah, probably you could do a beach bag. I think I probably have enough, certainly, to do one with the 3 colors in some sort of striped pattern. So that could be another really good option. New Day Crochet says that they'd love to try Stitch Studio in hopes that Michaels starts to sell it. I had heard that Michaels was maybe buying some of AC Moore's intellectual property and like trademarked lines and things like that. I don't know whether that includes yarn or if they have other house brands that they were after. Last few times that I've been in Michael's, they've been really like paper and Cricut heavy. Like the little die cutter machines, at least the Michael's that I go to, has had a lot less yarn than I would like. So, yeah, I don't know what will happen with that. All right, so the yarn that I have in front of me here is Universal Yarn, and this is the yarn Vibrance. It is, let's see, 50 grams. It's 218 yards or 200 meters. It is 65% superwash wool, 27% nylon, 8% polyester. They are calling this a #1 superfine yarn. And they are recommending a 3.25 millimeter knitting needle or a 3.5 millimeter or E crochet hook. And I've got color 9 and color 6, and I thought they had names, but they're not marked on the labels. But yeah, I've got color 9 and color 6. I got 2 balls of each. I don't think I realized that this was a #1 weight yarn. And actually, it doesn't really look like a #1 weight from this direction, but when you do actually get it kind of up and in your hand, it's actually pretty thin. So it's probably right. It's very, very fluffy, and then sort of wrapped with probably, what did I say, polyester. It's probably wrapped with a polyester, like basically something about the thickness of sewing thread all the way around. So you can see here, there's the thickness of the thread, but it looks so puffy, but when you actually pull it kind of tight, you can tell that there's actually not very much yarn there. But it's like one puff ball wrapped in a piece of sewing thread.
Is it going to be easy to catch that black thread with a needle?
It probably will split pretty badly. It would probably be relatively easy to hit this and pull this little black thread up. Though now that I say that, it's actually surprisingly difficult to do because the fiber is kind of like entangling it. So I'm sure it will happen as you crochet that you will catch that thread. The black thread shows up a lot stronger against these pale yellow sections than it is on this blue yarn. It's blending in a lot more and actually almost looks purpler over here. It's a lot harder to see. I mean, it's still black thread, but like it just blends in because there's a lot of purple in there. So I think depending on the color that you pick, it's not the softest wool I've ever felt, but it's not bad. Again, I think this yarn was really cheap. It has an interesting look to it. New Day Crochet's saying it looks cool. It is an interesting yarn. If you are looking for a yarn to do a shawl out of and you want a number 1 weight yarn, this might be a good option. Number 1 is also fingering weight yarn, and so there's tons and tons of 100-gram fingering weight shawls. And I do know that it's hard to come by number 1 weight yarns in a lot of cases unless you're willing to buy hand-dyed yarn. And so cheap options to still be able to participate and do a fingering weight shawl and have it turn out right are fewer and farther between. There's a lot of stranded cotton options, but really when you get down into fingering weight yarns and you want, wool, you're looking at least $11 a ball from a local yarn store type of level of purchase. I think these were in the $2 to $4 range a piece. So I don't remember exactly, but most of this universal yarn that I bought was super cheap, which is why I got it this time, because it was just interesting to try something out. So, yeah, New Day Crochet saying it looks like Stitchbird, but thinner. If I remember, Stitchbird, though, was more crisscrossy. Yeah, it was literally like they wrapped it in bird netting or like shoved it through a tube of bird netting. But yeah, very similar concept here. But yeah, I think generally I like the single thread wrapped better than I liked the Stitchbird. Stitchbird was such a weird yarn. It wanted to be really cool, and like I just didn't like how it ended up working up. It was not for me, but this could be, it could be very similar or it could be different. I'm not really sure yet how I'm going to like this, but it's growing on me as I handle it. It's not bad. Yeah, it'll probably be a shawl. It could be really nice fingerless gloves though. I like a little bit of something interesting going on in the fingerless glove, and I'm wondering if the little bit of nylon and polyester in there will give them some stretch. So could be fingerless gloves, could be a shawl, could be a cowl. Would make a nice cowl. It feels like a nice warm yarn. Runaway Needle Red, I've never heard of Universal Yarn. I don't know what the deal, like I said, with Universal Yarn. It's a brand on Premier's website, but I really have never heard of it, like, other than I've seen it on Premier's website. So I don't know if it's a brand that they bought out. I don't know what its deal is, but I came across it, and there, like, if you go on Premier's website, there's a drop down where you can sort by yarn, and it's Premier yarns, and then Premier anti-pilling acrylic yarns, and then Universal yarns. And under that, there's a whole bunch of weird brands of yarn that I've never heard of before. So, primarily, I was going to look and see. There's just no information on this yarn at all. I was going to see. It seemed like these come out of Turkey. Well, these say that they come out of Turkey. I was wondering if it was just similar to ice yarns where they have access to a mill and so they are just selling, like, maybe this is another brand, but they've bought some of it and are selling it under another brand name. That kind of happens. You see, if you go on, for example, ice yarns, you see yarns that you're pretty sure are another yarn for another yarn company, just being sold under a different label. I'm wondering if there's some of that going on. All right, this one might be one that interests a lot of people. Sweet Roll was a super popular yarn for a long time. I think you can still get it a lot of places. I think my Joann Fabric clearanced it out a while back. But this is Sweet Roll Frosty. I've got this one upside down. I've got the color Jack Frost and Marzipan. And so you can see these here. They're a color changing yarn that has this, like, kind of a stonewashed look. Like, it's got white kind of mixed in, and I guess they're going for a frosted look, but that's kind of what it reminds me of is stonewashing or kind of a tie-dye look to it in here. I don't know how clearly that comes across, but you might be able to see it better in the purple here, where it's just got kind of some heathering. It's heavier than speckles. It's a pretty good mix. So let's see what we've got here. This is a number 4 medium weight yarn. It is a pretty puffy number 4 weight yarn. I'm actually kind of surprised it's 4 and not 5. Let's see what the yards per... It's definitely a 4 weight. Well, no, 140 grams. So these are 140 gram balls, 245 yards or 224 meters. I think it's probably a number 5 weight. I would have to get out a calculator to double check, but if it's not a 5, it's definitely Aran weight, ARAN, which is kind of a 4.5. So Aran is a heavier than worsted, but lighter than chunky. So on the yarn weight scale there, it's sort of a yellowy green. There's a lot of yarns that exist not exactly on the mark, and so you've got this long gradient of yarns, and this is definitely on the heavy side of worsted. Like I said, when I looked at it, my first thought was it's got to be a 5. But they're calling it a number 4. It might just barely be. They recommend a 5.5 millimeter knitting needle or a 5.5 millimeter crochet hook, which is an eye hook. I suspect that's probably going to be on the small side. I probably would go with a 6 millimeter just by eye. I would use a 5.5 millimeter for a 4 weight yarn, but like I said, I think if I got out a calculator, I would tell you that this is probably closer to a 5. Let's see. They are saying machine wash this, warm, tumble dry, normal. And I'm pretty sure this is 100% acrylic, but it is right there. 100% acrylic. This is not part of their anti-pilling acrylic line. You'll notice that it's not covered in stamps and stickers and things that say anti-pilling. So this is just regular old acrylic. But I think it came in fun colors and patterns. Sweet Roll was one of those yarns that had nothing wrong with it, but just didn't thrill me. It was just, and I have a review on the channel, and you can go back and see what I thought of it. But it was fun. It was pretty colors, but there was nothing that grabbed my attention over anything else. It wasn't amazingly soft, but it wasn't bad. It wasn't scratchy. It wasn't anything wrong with it. The color transitions were normal. It was one color and then it was the next color, which is fine. but they didn't do a particularly good job of like blending the colors. So it absolutely is a good workhorse yarn. Nothing wrong with it, but just nothing to write home about. On the other hand, I absolutely loved Premier's DK Colors, which is a very similar yarn, but I found softer, and it's actually a finer yarn, and I prefer a finer yarn in most cases. And so I really liked that, even though it was basically the same yarn. They did a nicer job with smoothing the color transitions on the DK colors, at least with the color that I've worked with the most. And like I said, I found it to be softer and even prettier. But this seems like nice yarn. I think it will make very nice kids presents in I'm not sure what I'll make out of it, but they're good kid colors and good just a good yarn that will hold up for them. Just a regular 100% acrylic. So that's probably what these are destined to be. I actually think that they might work really well on the I've done a lot of I've shown a lot of tutorials where I've done crochet edges on blankets, and these might be fun for that because they would color change as you did multiple rounds. So that's sometimes fun to do, and these are good kid colors. Let's see. New Day Crochet said that it reminds her of Mandala Ombre. Yeah, I think it's actually very similar to Mandala Ombre. I opened some of that a couple months back, I think. But you're right. It is very similar. Has that heathered look to it. Runaway Needle Red says pretty colors. And then also there's a few color combinations that she liked, and a few that had marble section that were very nice. I think in the sweet roll is what she's talking about, and yeah, there were a few really nice colors and a few that were had better transitions than others. There were a handful though that had really like stark contrasting colors, if I remember correctly. So I'm actually looking at the sweet roll, the cowl that I made out of sweet roll. It's on the mannequin, like directly in front of me. And the colors that it has were pink and light purple and like a dark pink. And those colors like looked nicer next to each other. But if you put white next to navy blue, you're obviously going to have a much harder transition and more obvious transition than if you put a pale pink next to a pale purple. You just don't really notice that difference as much.
If I remember right, did that one have like speckling of weird dye where it almost looked like pen ink was like flipped at it?
No. So what my husband's asking is if that one had speckles of color like it had been flicked with ink. I think he's remembering Mandala Baby, which had like weird sections. I don't think that that's the one, unless it does. Does it look like it has speckles? Yeah, you could just throw it over here and I can take a look at it. But I don't think that one had the speckling. I think it was Mandala Baby, which might have been my first video, or at least one of my first reviews. Maybe it was my first like good video.
I don't see dark speckling, but I do see some kind of painted parts.
Oh no, this is pretty speckled. So, the purple has a lot of burgundy speckle in it. The burgundy looks relatively solid, and then the pink has kind of some, I guess, magenta rather than burgundy, but the purple definitely has a lot of magenta in it. You can see some speckling. The magenta section is pretty solid, and then the pink sections are have a little bit of speckling to them, but we are maybe frozen. Maybe that's on another end. Okay, it let me know if more of you are experiencing problems, but it might be. It's hard to tell whether it's on our end or whether it's on your end if it's frozen. So, let us know if it continues to be a problem. There are a couple of sweet rolls that had manly colors. Dark chocolate. Okay. Yeah, I'm trying to remember if I had seen any of the darker, more masculine colors. Most of what I'm trying to picture, there was a display at Joann Fabric that I bought this yarn off of, and most of them were very kid colored. Lots of bright colors and very like baby focused color combination. So like dark blue, light blue, and like orange, I think, was a color combination that was super popular. Always makes me think of fish. I'm not totally sure why. I think there's a company that has a colorway that's named after fish that it makes me think of. But yeah, this is the cowl I made out of sweet roll, and again, it's perfectly fine. It would be a very nice gift for somebody who wants something that they can wash and dry, but nothing about sweet roll got me excited. I think these colors are really fun and something kind of different, and I'm sure that I will use it for a something I'm going to give to kids and possibly the edge around a blanket. All right, let's open something else up. Trying to reach over here. All right, I got a whole bunch more universal yarns, and then I think everything else is the yarn that I was most excited for, and I was going to save the best for last. So I think there's two different things here. That one's Classic Shades, that one's Frenzy, that one's Frenzy, and these two are Classic Shades. All right, so I've got two yarns here. One is Universal Classic Shades, and the other is Universal Classic Shades Frenzy. So I'm going to slide Frenzy over to the side, and we'll just look at Classic Shades. I really have no idea what the difference between them is, so let's see if we can take a look. On initial inspection, I'm a little bit worried about this yarn because it is very reminiscent of Red Heart Boutique Unforgettable. It is partially wool, though, so let's see what we've got here. This one has a really nice feel to it in the hand. Do you want me to push? Okay. All right. So these yarns are 70% acrylic, 30% wool. They're a number 4 medium weight yarn. They recommend a 5mm knitting needle or a 6mm J hook. 100-gram balls are 197 yards or 180 meters. And I have the color Midnight Ride in my hand here. And so you can kind of see the colors there. There's kind of this hint of red, a little bit of green, a little bit of purple on the inside in here. Kind of really dark jewel tones is what I've got here. This color is Campfire. And I think that's pretty appropriately named. It's a lot of reds and black and gold and orange in here. And this crazy color is called Neon Kaleidoscope. And it's got pretty much every color in some neon shade. So really intense blue, purple like my hair, like safety yellow and green, some orange, some pink, a lot of bright colors in here. Weirdly, there is this like pale with like just a little tiny bit of bright orange in it. Like, I don't even know what color that is. It's kind of salmony colored with bright orange in there. But you can see as I'm moving this, it's just like flopping out of the way. It's gonna be a challenge to work with. This yarn is almost certainly going to need to be reballed before you should start using it. It's barely holding together with the label on. I suspect if I take the label off, it's just going to go whoop and make a giant pile. So, I bought these because they were interesting and very cheap. And I thought they might be fun to work up. We've got the little circular knitter, and so sometimes I have a tendency to buy a lot of yarn that's not a 4-weight, and so if I see some cool colors in 4-weights, I'll pick those up too, so that my husband can work them up and make some hats and stuff out of that. So that is the Classic Shades. And then I've also got Classic Shades Frenzy. And Classic Shades Frenzy was very reminiscent of Red Heart Roll With It Melange. It's a really different feeling yarn than this. So this is a really loose plied. I would call this a single ply yarn. I can sort of see that there are multiple colors and they sort of look like a plied yarn, but I think if I just started pulling hard enough on a fiber that it would separate. I'm not going to because that's not the end here. I can get to the end here. Acrylic is a little bit hard because the fibers are so long, but I can basically just untwist this, and it's not really plied so much as like they just put a little of another color fiber as they twisted it. But you can see, like, it's going to come apart super easy. It's going to be near impossible to frog. That doesn't mean it won't be good to work with, but it's not a beginner yarn, I can tell you that much. This yarn, on the other hand, I think is still also single ply. I'm going to try and get some out of the center or out of the outside. But it feels like it would be a little bit more robust, and that if you tugged on it, it won't fall completely apart. That being said, if you make a hat with a magic circle on the top of this and you crank on the yarn and pull it really hard, you know what I mean? Like you just pull super hard, it's probably going to separate on you. And I can already feel that. If you're a weaver, this yarn might work, but I probably would not put it in the warp. And I can tell you I won't put it in the warp because it will probably separate over time. But it's not terrible. But I think I can probably untwist it completely. It does want to hold itself together a little bit more, but yeah, you can untwist it pretty readily. It feels like there's maybe a little bit of plying going on there, but it's pretty hard to tell. But this yarn was very reminiscent of the Roll With It Melange, which I really liked. So let's see what the difference here is. 100-gram ball, 158 yards, or 145 meters, and this is a bulky weight yarn, so it is a little bit heavier. By a little bit, yep. The little less yardage for the same amount of weight. They are recommending a 6.5 millimeter knitting needle or a 6.5 millimeter K crochet hook. This also says to machine wash and dry flat. And I have the colors Harbor Lights, Fairy Tale, and Madras. This is really pretty. I don't know if you can see the colors in here very well, but it's got this really nice dark blue, and then there's a burgundy and like gold, and it's actually more of like a champagne-y rose gold in here. There's some really nice light blues in here. If we open this up a little bit, it does really open up pretty well. So it's, like I said, I would probably wind this into a ball, but you can see there's some really cool colors in there. This is probably gonna be a hat for me. I'm probably gonna find a really cool crochet pattern and do something with this because I really like this actually. I actually really like this fairy, what was this called? Fairy Tale? Fairy Tale is very pretty too. Very reminiscent of, I think there's a painting that I like that has a lot of these colors, but dark purple and this really nice like olive stemmy green. And then there's a lot of like cotton candy pink with blue in it. Some golds and burgundies, really nice, really nice, dark, deep colors. So I like this a lot. New Day Crochet saying goodbye. Thank you for watching. Thank you for joining us. And we will be back on Tuesday. So Thursday is not a new time for us. It was just I was having a long week already at work and it was only Tuesday. And so we bumped the stream back a little bit.
I think the ice yarn is supposed to be delivered on Tuesday.
Okay. And so it sounds like, just for anybody interested, we put in another pretty large ice yarns order and it might be here Tuesday. So there's a really good chance that next week's stream will be ice yarns, though Monday is a holiday, so I imagine that could play havoc with delivery. So we'll see what happens. I was just gonna open this up a little bit more and see if there were any interesting different colors that I couldn't see. This yarn has a very like Saved by the Bell feel to it, or something like Fresh Prince, maybe. Yeah, I don't know. There's a definite like late 80s, early 90s vibe to the color scheme here. Not to say I don't like it. It's just a very different set of colors. You don't usually get like magenta and dark navy and teal and then like silver all together. So Runaway Needle Red is asking what the yarn is called. This is Universal Yarns Classic Shades Frenzy. So these three are Frenzy. This one that I think is a lot more like Red Heart Boutique Unforgettable is called Classic Shades. So this yarn's a bit finer and feels a bit weaker, like it's going to be a little bit more of a challenge to work with. The Classic Shades Frenzy is also a relatively weak yarn, but I think will be a little bit less challenging to work with. It's got a lot less halo, but it is still a single ply yarn, and so it still has single ply challenges. It's going to be a little bit tougher to pull out stitches, and it's going to be a lot weaker if you have to try and pull really tight. So use a lot of caution doing things like magic circles. Copperpot's asking if I thought about getting a variety pack from Ice Yarns. What are those called? Mixed lots is what they call them. I've not ordered from Ice Yarns, but was curious about those. I thought about it, and very nearly did, but it's so much fun picking all sorts of random ones. So with the mixed lots, you get a lot of colors, but some of them are just all the same yarn, and so it's just a lot more of it. I think those mixed lots are usually about 2 kilograms, which is 5-ish pounds. That's a lot of a single type of yarn to commit to. There are a whole bunch of the mixed lots where you get all like winter yarns or all spring yarns, and you get like one of the weird, but I don't know. There weren't any. The thing about the mixed lots is you pick the mixed lot and you get exactly what's in the picture. It's not like this is, maybe a kind of thing you're going to get. You get that lot. So that's nice because you know what you're getting, but there wasn't any one particular mixed lot where I liked everything.
They actually seem kind of expensive to me too.
Yeah,
like $50.
Yeah, some of them, so I think the cheapest mixed lots were $30. And $30 for 2 kilograms of yarn is not bad, but then when you add in shipping, which was steep this time, so it was steep last time, but it was even higher this time. I wonder if just global shipping is up right now, or if I ordered something very heavy this time. I did order a lot of yarn. What did I end up telling you? I think it was somewhere in the ballpark of about 160 skeins of yarn. So it's going to be a long unboxing next week, but should be a lot of fun. So
A lot of them are like 8 balls in the same.
yeah, I mean, because of the way you have to order with ice yarns, you have to order 8 or 4 or 6 of the same thing, and so it won't be as drastic as it sounds, but it's still a lot of yarn coming. All right, so one last time, this is Universal Classic Shades and Classic Shades Frenzy. And so I'm going to slide these guys out of the way and open the thing that I've been waiting to open the most. All right. So, Premier has a yarn called Premier Everyday. And then they've got a lot of similar related yarns. So I showed you Everyday DK. This is Everyday Medley. And it's a very heathered looking yarn. Let me get these all unwrapped. And I had a really, really difficult time choosing colors. And so I kind of bought a lot of them. That being said, this yarn comes in a ton of colors. So I think I picked like 8 colors, and it might be 24 colors or something like that it comes in. So I'm not going to open these. Well, I guess I can take them out of the bag and just get rid of the bag. I did buy one. So I mentioned earlier that I noticed that I don't have much in the way of blanket quantities. And so I did buy one of these colors in blanket quantity. So I'm going to set these off to the side, and we'll talk about that color is right here. So, what do I got here? Oh, this is another of the Everyday DK. So I'm going to set this guy aside. This is the color Parchment. I was mostly looking, I spend a lot of time looking for really good yarns for amigurumi, that would make good, like a good representation of Caucasian skin. I find it really hard to find, like, white is too white and tans are too tan, and so there's a, you know, a match for my own skin tone is pretty tricky to find. And so anytime that there's a number 3 weight yarn, I try and buy just to see how good of an option it is. So this would be a good skin tone, but not a good match for my own. But again, this is the color Parchment. So I'm going to set that over with the other Premier Everyday DK. So these are the, what's that? Yep. So these are Premier Everyday Medley. And I'll go through colors first. So this is Blue Note. This is Forest. Autumn, Current, Grayish, Brown Marble, Berry Marble, and Navy. And every one of these yarns has like a 2-tone color. So Current is burgundy and black. Autumn is orange and sort of like a tan bronzy color. Forest looks like it is green, and I guess I would call that like olive. It's very like army olive drab type of color mixed in there, very dark brown green. Blue Note is light blue and dark blue. Navy looks like navy blue and maybe a lighter blue, possibly a silver. It's kind of hard to tell exactly what color it is. Berry Marble is gray and burgundy, and it's a really good pairing with this yarn here. You could see how those would really look nice together. Brown Marble is brown and bronzy, kind of a lighter brown, verging on copper. Grayish is gray and beige, which makes sense because it's a portmanteau of gray beige. And so that's the 8 colors. I moved that one out of order. So let's talk some stats on these guys. Number 4, medium weight yarn. They recommend a 4.5 millimeter crochet hook or a 4.5 millimeter knitting needle or a 4.5 millimeter crochet hook, which is a 7 hook. They say to machine wash this, warm, and tumble it dry. This is one of their anti-pilling yarns, and you'll recognize that, it's got all the stamps and all of the anti-pilling advertising on there. It is 100 gram ball. Each one is a 100 gram ball. 219 yards or 200 meters, 100% anti-pilling acrylic. They have a very nice feel to them. Really slippery feeling acrylic. Very similar to the anti-pilling DK. But the DK is obviously a lighter weight and comes in the solids, where this comes in this really marbled look. So my intent here is to make some sort of blanket, probably like a baby blanket, out of these 5 balls of grayish. I just thought it was such a cool looking color, and I think it's going to make a really nice looking baby blanket. Maybe a really nice fall baby blanket. So it's still neutral colored, but has a warmer tone to it than just a white or cream. So a little bit of something different. I'm not sure what we're going to do with the rest. Maybe make some striped hats on the circular knitting machine, or so these 2 I bought for my husband, these 2 I bought for my husband, and these 3 I bought to do something together. I don't know why, but I've been really drawn to green, light blue, and dark blue, and you'll probably have noticed I did the exact same thing with the linens. Like, it's the same color palette. So for whatever reason, that color palette right now is really drawing me in. So I don't know what I'm going to do with them, but I thought they were cool, and that's what I'm going with. So alternatively, I think you could make a really good case for these 2, or possibly even these 3, going really well together, with a very woodsy feel to them. Really nice fall palette there. So a lot of really good options here from Premier. I really like Premier yarns. You don't hear as much about Premier as you do about Lion Brand or about Red Heart or Bernat or some of the really big companies, but I've always been quite pleased with most of Premier's products. There have been some exceptions and some issues that I've had in the past, especially surrounding, what was that called? Parfait Layers. I had some issues with. I actually really liked Parfait Layers, but it had some construction problems. The ends were a little bit mixed up, and some of the colors were mixed up. But I've really enjoyed working with Premier's yarns, and overall, I don't know. I'm a big fan. So when they release something cool like this, I pick it up in a lot of colors. So I think it'll be fun to see what we make out of this. Let's see. Can't wait to Rebecca can't wait to see all of the ice yarns. Hobby Lobby Baby Bee Sweet Delight in the colorway Naked. I might actually have that upstairs. It looks blown out over here. I can't really actually see the color. My husband was pulling it up and showing it to me, but the white was a little bit too bright. But yeah, I might actually have that upstairs. The last time I went to Hobby Lobby, which at this point was months ago, I bought, I don't know, 4 or 5 different like neutral, trying to, again, like a Caucasian skin tone match, and I ended up using what did I end up using? Simplicity makes a yarn called somebody's birthday suit. It's the name of like the owner of the company. I can't think of her name. But it's called birthday suit basically, and it looked really pink. But it ended up actually working really well. Karen's. It's Karen's birthday suit by Simplicity. And I thought it looked really dark and very pink when I bought it, and I was kind of on the fence about it, but I went ahead and got it. And it really was a good match for not only my skin, but just looked like a very natural skin tone to me. Though you probably have noticed that my skin is very, very pink. So, it wasn't a color that I would have picked normally, but it was what the owner of the local yarn store that I bought it at recommended, and I went with it, and I was pretty pleased. I ended up using that on my mermaid, which I have not finished, and I'm not sure exactly where my mermaid is at. Probably upstairs next to where I crochet. I was thinking it might be down here.
Actually, the mermaid sample.
Yeah, all of my my sample mermaids are down here, but I don't know where my crochet mermaid is at. But I do need to finish my mermaid. It really wasn't very far from being done. I think I have the whole tail done, most of the hair. She still needed arms and some sort of top, like bikini top. So, good night. Let's see. Somebody was saying good night, and so I think that's what that said. Unless it's also good evening. It's good evening. Okay, then welcome. Thank you for joining. I did my best at guessing and was slightly off. So, let's see. Rebecca said thanks for the tip. I have to check that one out too. So yeah, that one's a little bit on the pricier side, but you use so little of really any color when you do amigurumi that even though it was $8, I think I needed one to do the whole mermaid that I was doing. So really, I don't know, in the end wasn't a big deal. Yeah, from Skasel. So, yeah. What about you guys? Do you guys have questions or things you want to talk about? Questions about anything on the table or projects that you're working on? I do have one project that I can show you. Yeah, I clear some yarn off here. Goodbye, yarn. I really want to work with this. I've got to finish. So what I'm going to show you is a baby blanket that I'm working on, and I really want to work with that color. It's such a interesting color and heathering to it that I just want to kind of quit this one and move on to that one. All right. This might be kind of difficult to see. This is one of the things that we were having the lighting problem with, and I think it's actually that the yarn is super reflective. But this is Lion Brand Comfy Cotton Blend. I picked this up at Walmart, and it is a 200-gram ball, 392 yards, 358 meters. It's a number 3 lightweight yarn. It's 50% cotton, 50% polyester. And they recommend a 4.5 millimeter crochet hook, 4.5 millimeter knitting needle, or a 6 millimeter crochet hook, which is really big difference. And I think I'm using, where did my hook go? I think I'm using a 5 millimeter crochet hook, though I seem to have lost it somewhere around here, but I'm pretty sure I'm using a 5 millimeter crochet hook and not a 6. In fact, I'm positive I'm not using a 6. So I suspect that that's a typo. Usually they're not 1.5 millimeters. Usually about a 0.5 millimeter bump is correct. So I suspect that this is supposed to be a 4.5 millimeter knitting needle or a 5 millimeter crochet hook, which is what I'm pretty sure I'm using. This is interesting because I actually intended when I bought this yarn in the first place, a lot of people have been dyeing it because it's 50% cotton, but it's not blended super intimately, I guess is the best way to put it. There's basically it sort of looks like some of the plies are polyester and some of them are cotton. And so when it dyes, the cotton will take cotton dye, but the polyester won't. And so you get a cool heathered look to it, or kind of speckly look. All of the other colorways of both Comfy Cotton Blend and Flicka, which are exactly the same yarn, as far as I can tell. The only difference I can see is that Comfy Cotton Blend comes in 200-gram balls and is sold at Walmart, and Flicka is sold in 100-gram balls, and I've seen that at certainly Hobby Lobby and I think Joann Fabric. But as far as I can tell, they're exactly the same yarn. Flicka also comes in skeins like this, where Comfy Cotton Blend comes in cakes. So this is a pattern, I think it's called the Crunchy Granola baby blanket. Yep. It's a very simple pattern, but it works up super dense with a ton of texture. And I'm really liking how it's working up, but it is working up slow. Because it's just a 2-stitch repeat, and it really works up very slow, but just such a cool, like, looking and squishy texture. So, I'm really enjoying how it's turning out. I've got a little bit of ruffling here that I need to deal with, and I think that will come out in washing. The Comfy Cotton Blend, I'm not sure how much I love it. It's pretty splitty. I've got a lot of loops that I've split my stitches pretty badly. It's been a little bit more of a challenge to work with than I generally like.
Does it have a lot of knots in it?
I've hit 1 knot so far. It's right here. So I just have hit the 1 knot. I'm not very far into this blanket. I probably am only, if I was guessing, maybe 75 grams into this ball. So certainly not, I don't think I'm halfway through this ball yet. So, but I really am liking how it's working up. Like I said, it's called the Crunchy Granola Blanket, I think. And it is a paid pattern, but very nicely done. And it's got a really cool looking border that I'm excited to do as well. But yeah, I think I'm about 1/4 to 1/3 of the way. I usually like them to be a little bit taller than they are wide. I know this is not a particularly, so I can hold it up here, not a particularly large baby blanket. I don't care for large baby blankets. It's just, I think that small baby blankets are easier for people to manage. It's easier to cover a baby in a car seat and not have it drag on the ground. If you put a small baby blanket in a stroller or something like that, it doesn't, again, drag on the ground. And yeah, so, that sounds, if the crunch stitch is what you're saying there, then yes, that's what this blanket is using. So yeah, if you'd be able to replicate this stitch with that stitch. I'm trying very carefully not to be like, I don't know, like,
Well, a $5 pattern couldn't possibly be do a slip stitch, then do a half double alternating forever.
It is.
Yeah, but it's got to tell you
Yeah.
like row counts or something.
There's more to a pattern, but yes, that would get you this stitch. So, but you don't get the border, you don't get, starting widths, you don't get that, and you don't, you know, support a pattern designer. So, um yeah, I kind of tricky. Um Jane's saying that comfy cotton is hit or miss. Yeah, I'm finding that so far. I'm also noticing that I've got a couple of weird spaces. I think I picked up stitches odd in a couple of spots because this is a pretty hole-free blanket, but there's definitely a larger hole there. And I'm not totally sure why. I probably picked up too many loops in one little spot there. When you lay it out like this, it's easy to notice little things like that. I'm also noticing that they're like, you can see here, I split a stitch right there and must not have noticed it as I was working. That one might actually be bad enough that I have to rip these 2 rows out and go back and fix that. I might be able to sew it down, but that's gonna be bad pretty quickly. I don't know if you can get in tighter on that. We'll zoom in. I'll show you the big loop on the back here, but it's pretty bad split stitch. So right there, you can see it sticking up the wrong way. So
all the comments on Ravelry are about splitting.
Yeah.
About it being full of knots and lots of splitting.
Okay, so the comments on Ravelry are saying the comfy cotton is full of knots and splits. So I've only experienced 1 knot, though 1 knot in less than half of the ball is not great. And yeah, so maybe I'll finish this. Maybe I'll abandon ship and switch over to the Premier everyday medley yarn. So we'll see. Let's see. Runaway Needle Red needs to start a baby blanket for a little boy due in July. Yeah, I'm actually in the same boat. This is for a baby due in July. And already used the crunch stitch for an ear warmer. I think this would make a really nice ear warmer pattern. It's a little bit tricky when people make very simple rectangles out of a single stitch type, for it to not just be very easy to say that's the stitch type that they used. So, yes, that's what it's crunch stitch blanket. I also like to have patterns that tell you how many, like, I'm willing to pay for a pattern because it'll tell me how many rows I should do and how many wide it should be. And they worked out the math on the border and things like that are worth it to me to pay for. So, it looks like Joyce has had better luck with comfy cotton than the average person, though it's a little bit hard because the people who generally go to Ravelry are either there because they loved it or because they hated it. There are very few middle of the road reviews on pretty much any product. So it's one of the things I actually hate doing when I have to give a very middle of the road interview or review on yarn. It's so much easier to review something that you loved or something that you hated. But like with what I was explaining with Premier Sweet Roll earlier, it was just fine. Like, that, it's very difficult to give a, like, it's just okay, worked fine, didn't have any problems type of review. So I always take reviews with a little bit of a grain of salt because I know that people are either very happy with it or very unhappy with it. If they've gone to the trouble to go review it somewhere. Especially a place like Ravelry, which that doesn't send out review requests. Like Amazon, if you buy something, they send you out a request to do a review. Somebody sought out Ravelry to leave a review. They either were very happy with it or very unhappy. So that is that. So that's all I really have to show as far as project updates. It's been a really long couple of weeks at work, and so I have not done much crocheting or much anything else. So, a lot of watching Jeopardy, and that's about it. So, I'm hoping with the 3-day weekend that I will get to do quite a lot of crocheting. I have a couple of little amigurumi that I want to work on, and I want to work on this blanket, and I might even start another blanket. See where we're at. Apparently I'm tired. Excuse me. I'm more tired than I thought I was. I did go with the cotton blend on this because I thought it might be a little bit more breathable and lighter for a summer baby. But then I did pair it with a very dense stitch, so maybe it wasn't my best choice. I could have gone with something a little bit more open. But people forget that even though you have a baby in the summer, it's really easy to make a baby very cold in the summer. So you might be warm, but as soon as you go into the air conditioning, you want something on most babies to keep them warm because the air is so cold. So a nice, lightweight, breathable blanket is a good thing even for a summer baby. So I think this stitch is dense enough that it'll be warm in the winter and open enough, and the cotton in there will be breathable enough that it won't be too insane in the summer. So that was the goal here. Let's see. Think I'm caught all up on comments. I guess if anyone has any questions or comments or things they want to talk about, now would be a good time to throw those in the comment section. Like I said earlier, we will plan to have a stream on Tuesday. If the ice yarns shipment gets delayed, we might bump the stream back, but the goal is to continue on with Tuesdays. So I know it's weird that we're doing a Thursday stream, but the plan is still to do Tuesdays at 8:00 Central Time. If you have questions or comments or pictures to share with me or anything like that, you can find me on Instagram and Facebook at Experiments in Crafting. You can also leave a comment in the comment section on any video, and I will try and get to those. I know I'm a little bit behind on answering some comments, so if you're waiting for a response from me, I will get to those this weekend, hopefully get all caught up with all of my social media. So, Memorial Day weekend will be a good time to sort of reset and catch up. It sounds like it's going to be a miserable weekend. At least around here, I think it's supposed to be about 90 and pouring rain. So that was the last forecast I saw. We live in, Central Illinois, and so it's starting to get into the into summer weather and starting to get humid and gross. So yeah. Well, I think that's all I really have to share tonight, and so I'm probably going to go ahead and wrap the stream up. Hopefully you enjoyed seeing all of the Premier yarns and the Leither box and the comfy cotton blanket that I'm working on. And if you guys have suggestions or comments about, suggestions or things that you would like to talk about on future streams, go ahead and leave that in the comment section for me. Otherwise, I will see you all on Tuesday. Have a great Memorial Day weekend. Thanks for watching. Good night.